Stand while we say the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. And I would like to welcome those individuals that may be live streaming or watching this later on YouTube, and thank you for your interest in Candioi County government. For the record, today is November 1st, 2022. Commissioners, on our agenda, we would like to possibly, if it's okay with everybody, that Mr. Odens could move up the Candioi County bicycle trail and pedestrian plan and take that first when he is on the agenda. Move that one up. But first I'll do the very first thing on our agenda is our consent agenda, and we have 3 items on our consent agenda today. The 2 regular ones are minutes, as well as the auditor's warrants and claims, and commissioners that have all received the digital copies of those in advance and a chance to review them. But we also have the Snowmobile Grant in Aid Program Maintenance and Grooming Grant. And this is a grant that Candioi County has received for 5 years, and I believe it goes from 2020 to 2005, I believe. Yep. And Candioi County Auditor Mark Thompson is the one that oversees this. But they request that we approve this each board meeting, so this is pretty much standard, correct?
Each year, not each board meeting.
Or each year, yes, thank you. And that's, if there's any short questions, otherwise, does anybody wish to pull anything from our consent agenda to put on the regular agenda? And if I don't hear anything, do I have a motion to approve?
I will move the consent agenda.
A motion by Commissioner Nissen. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
And a second by Commissioner Anderson. I'll call for the vote. Are any further questions, comments? None. I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. Now, at this point, I'd like to call on Candioi County Public Works Director, Mr. Odens. And you have several resolutions and agenda items for us this morning, I understand.
Mr. Chair, and you had requested that we consider moving the bike and ped plan up. So I will do that one first.
Thank you.
And in a minute, Larry, we'll want the overhead just in a minute, though.
Yep,
Okay?
you just tell me, no.
Yep. So maybe as a kind of an introduction to this, we did this plan in 2017 with the help of Mid-Minnesota and, of course, all the public. What we did is we did 2 open houses, one in Welborn and one in the New London Spicer area. And we developed a plan, and the purpose of the plan, at the time, we had never done a plan before. And the purpose of the plan at the time was we wanted to develop a plan where we had safe and convenient bike and ped networks for anybody in Candioi County and anybody passing through. And the reason that we did that is because we were finding that we were doing all these spot improvements, but the spot improvements weren't necessarily connected. And so we just felt like we were doing a lot of good things, but we weren't necessarily doing it comprehensively. And so we did this plan, and really what this plan was is a long-range vision. It was a 10-year plan to help connect the gaps, and it also was there to provide a logistical network of bikes. And primarily what we were focusing on then was like loop routes. So you could go around Eagle Lake, you could go around Green Lake, you could go around Games Lake, you could go around Diamond Lake, and you could get these loops where you weren't like going down a trail and then turn around and coming straight back. And I think that's what we were hearing in the open houses. We had really good comment periods. We had, I think, in the neighborhood of 300 received comments that are in this book as well. But anyway, it was a long-range vision. We took a lot of public participation, and we wanted to clearly articulate what the goal of Candioi County was. And so what we did is we feel really good about the plan. It's now 5 years old. We've implemented a lot of the projects. And Larry, maybe if you want to pop up on the screen. Yep. And while Larry's doing that, I think there's a good thing for the tourism in the area, the recreation in the area, but it's also a good thing because this plan is also needed to get money nowadays. Anytime you get a state, federal grant, or just federal money, or you need to demonstrate that's in a plan. You can't just say we need money for a project. You have to have it in a comprehensive plan that's approved by elected board, like yourself, by resolution. And so what we've done is this on? Yeah. Oh, there it is. Good, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I remember I told you that one doesn't work.
But, so when we did the plan, we focused where the heart of where we were seeing bike and ped activity. And that, it's really in the center part, the regional center part of the county. And if this sheet is right out of the plan, but as you can see, because of the plan, we've realized 6 different projects that we were able to do. And that, we've gotten $1.59 million in realized money, 80/20 money, that we were able to accomplish within Kansas County because of this plan. And so quickly, we did the Games Lake Trail up here. We're looking to do a future Sibley Park connection here. We've done the Diamond Lake Trail, plus we're rehabilitating the entire loop around Green Lake. As you know, that's 22 years old. We're doing a little connection on Lake Avenue South that connects the park and the city center to our trail that goes south down to Canyon High. We were able to pave the shoulders on 8 down to here. We were able to pave these shoulders on 4. We did here, we're doing the DNR by the golf course, hole number 10, 16. Oh, no, that's right here, I guess, I'm sorry. This one, that's Lake Avenue South. Anyway, so maybe enough said on that. I think what the moral of the story is that it's used, we use it literally every year, every day. And it's a 10-year plan with 5 years of projects, and that was 5 years ago. So we feel it's time to update it. You can shut this off there if you want.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And so we reached out to Mid-Minnesota Development Commission, and they were willing to get it in their queue. So they submitted a proposal, and you have that proposal in your packet. And the amount is $11,380, and that includes $500 in expenses. And just this morning, the Statewide Health Improvement Partnership Program, SHIP, which we're a partner of, they've partnered with us on reimbursable money. They called me this morning because they saw this is on the agenda, and they graciously offered to give $3,000 in reimbursables to help the county to implement the refresh of the plan. So with that, Mr. Chair, I don't know that I really need any authorization to sign an agreement. It's a small agreement. I think maybe what I would need is either a head nod or a motion that we can just proceed with this plan, because it is going to involve at least 1 or 2 public meetings like we did last time.
Commissioner Emdek.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Odens, thanks for that update. I was reading an article recently from Minneapolis Star Tribune, published in 2020, I believe it was, and the increase in kayaking and canoeing had gone up like 30% in 2020 from 2019. I think we have an opportunity in Kansas County, especially the northern part of the county, to take a look at potential water trails, as well as the biking and pedestrian trails. There's been some conversations by some, including Margaret Johnson from SWCD, formerly the Watershed, to possibly identify some areas that could be trails, say the Chain of Lakes over by Norway, Games Middle, the upper part of the Crow River, the lower part below the dam of the Crow River, even Nest Lake through Green Lake and Calhoun. So I'd like to see us include water trails in this pedestrian, or in this trail study. Maybe we just call it a trail study rather than bike pedestrian study.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would be something that would be in the scope of the proposal from Mid-Minnesota or not.
But what we would do is, because we wouldn't own the facility that it would be on, but what we could do is we could include it so that if we could assist in any way, we would be prepared for getting money to help with kiosks, signing, parking lots, anything that's on our property that would assist others like DNR or Navigable Waters to do something on that order. I think it would be good. I think it would be good for two reasons, really, because this is a published document on our website. And if you look under like bike trails, ped trails, you could look under waterway trails, and you could find what we've identified of usable areas. So I made that note.
Please, thank you.
If-
I would,
Go ahead.
also I'd like to, that we entertain a motion for this.
I would so move on that if you prefer a motion to.
Yes, but how would we put a dollar amount on this then?
I think the motion to me would be to proceed with the refresh or the update of the existing
And, okay.
county ped and trail plan.
No dollar amount, okay.
And then authorize staff to proceed as necessary to implement the plan.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Emdek to proceed to implement the plan, and a second by
I'll second.
Commissioner Gardner. Any further discussion or comments? I guess
Mr.
the only
Chair.
one I would have is tourism is one of our major industries, and this just fits so well with that as well. So, comment, Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mel, one of the things that I believe both Commissioner Berg and myself heard when we spent some time working the CVB booth at the St. Cloud Sports Show is how many people actually come here specifically to use our trails. And it's a big deal for tourism in our county. And it's good for the business community as well. Can you answer for those listening today, when we talk about $1.5 million worth of work, primarily where does that money come from? Are those levy dollars or are those grant dollars?
No, we get, some of it's DNR bonding state grant dollars, and then the other part of it is federal dollars. So what I've listed here is either grant dollars through the state bonding or federal dollars through the Transportation Alternatives Program.
So the relative small amount that we have going towards updating the study is a small contribution to those efforts that are funded in other ways.
Yeah, I feel it's a good, rate of return on your money, if you will. And I think, what our goal is to provide a good low-stress network so people do feel comfortable coming here. And you're gonna see more kiosks and signage, and we're trying to take baby steps to get it to where we want it to be. And I think we've done a lot in the last 5 years, quite honestly, I know we have a ways to go, and we'll probably hear that at the comment period, but we have a lot of other things going on too.
Administrator
Thank you.
Freindl, did you have a comment?
Yes, so this county board and the boards before you have always done a very good job of being forward-thinking and given the tools to Public Works and other departments, so they have a plan ready, so when an opportunity comes up, if the state or feds have extra dollars at the end of the year, they come to us and say, hey, we have this year money, can you use it? And they look at a plan. I see you have a plan or a trail ready for this. How, are you ready to do it? And you can say, yes, we're ready. We often get those dollars. We get those dollars for roadways, we get them for parkways. It's because of what you get, the opportunity you give these staff to do that. And so it helps us. I also want to comment on Commissioner Emdek's plan for the waterway trails. We have a great resource in these little creeks and streams here. And as a person getting ready to retire, I look forward to kayaking those. And Mel and I were going to kayak one time try to go from Gaines Lake all the way across as far as we could into the state park. And we never did that, but because water's been so low, but gotta have water. But those are new things that I think allows us to be a destination place for people to come. So thank you for considering this year plan.
Okay, Commissioner Emdek.
Yeah, and The other part of that is we have to be thinking about, and again, opportunities that you talk about, but kayaking isn't just for kids. I struggle greatly to get in and out of a kayak anymore today. But I could, once I'm in the water, I could kayak quite easily. It's just the getting in and out. And so I think there's opportunities for us to create equity for those who maybe can't get in and out so easily through, some sort of, I hate to say it, but handicap loading zones, if you will.
Sure.
And you also bring up another good point about having plans, and that's not just true for our bike and pedestrian and perhaps now water trail plan, but on every time we listen to presentations about the Infrastructure Jobs Act, is IIJA, Investment in Infrastructure and Jobs, is a plan has to be there before you can even apply for the grants, before they're even considered. So being prepared, as you say, is valuable not just for this, but for any applications we put in.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments before we do the vote? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. Not surprised it didn't. Very good conversation, and thank you for sharing that and bringing that forward, Mr. Odens.
It's not done.
He's not done. He's
No, he's done with that one. Yeah.
done with that one.
Now you gotta pay money.
Yeah, now,
So- Mr. Chair, members of the board, I've got 4 final payments before you. As we close out the year, it's always that busy time of year where people want to get their books closed out at the end of the year, and primarily so do we. It just is a lot easier for us. So the first one on your list is County Road 4. It is from Lake Lillian North. It was a 5.1 mile project that we did, which would just be north of Lake Lillian, north up to 20 and through the S-curves of 20. It's a project that we actually did last year, but we, for a variety of reasons, we were gonna, actually, what kind of happened was we were getting ready to close it out in May, and then like May 11, 12, if anybody remembers, we had a little bit excess water, and it kind of put a pause, and we had to do a bunch of like erosion fixing and reseeding, and so what it did is it delayed the final, and then of course then we're in the heart of construction, and so everybody's table or books are pretty full. So this project was done by Minrath Construction out of Cold Spring. It's a 5.1 mile job from north of Lake Lillian North. It was graded last year. We withheld 1% retainage, and it's my recommendation, Mr. Chair, to accept the project and authorize final payment in the amount of $27,873.57.
Commissioners, I would
Yeah, I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair, that we accept the final payment and acceptance.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner Anderson, accept final payment and acceptance, and
I
a
will
second
second.
by Commissioner Nissen. Any further questions or comments or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chair, the next one is our seal coat project that we did in 2022. This project was led in March of this year. It was Pearson Brothers of Hanover, Minnesota, was the low bidder. We did 25 miles of seal coat, primarily in the northern part. We did 140 County Road 2, and then County Road 10 from Green Lake Bible Camp easterly. I don't have it on the screen because it's probably not that exciting. But anyway, the project went very well. And so it's my recommendation to accept the project and authorize final payment of $4,674.14.
So move, Mr. Chair.
A motion by Commissioner Emdek to move, second by Commissioner
I will
Nissen.
second that as well.
Okay. I think he slightly beat you out, I'm not sure. Okay, we have a motion and a second to make the final payment and to, and also acceptance of the project at $4,674.14. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously.
And then, Mr. Chair, the next one is our maintenance striping. We do about 200 miles every year. We divide the county into 3 areas. This was the northeast area this year. We had 2 bidders on the project, and Traffic Marking Services in Maple Lake was the low bidder. We do centerline and some fog line. It's the latex striping we do. And it's my recommendation to accept the project and authorize final payment in the amount of $779.94.
Also move.
Commissioner Gardner moves to accept the payment of $779.94 for seal coating and payment.
I'll second.
Is there a second?
I'll second
A
that.
second by Commissioner Emdek. Any further questions or comments? Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mel, the low bidder was at about 107,000, and they came in about 30,000 below that. Any particular reason? And I've noticed that with several of the other bids here as well. Anything in general?
No, but for striping especially, what we were running into is product availability. If you had the product, you probably could bid it pretty cheap, because a lot of bidders were not. So this is such an odd bidding climate right now that when you do your estimate or when you do whatever, you try and you want to be the high bidder, so you want to, keep your dollars, your estimate up there, because you don't really know what your product availability is going to be. And these folks came in and delivered, so under bid, so.
So pretty much supply chain issues are still
Yep.
impacting?
We're
Okay,
hoping that all levels off now, a little bit.
sure. Thank you. So,
Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously.
And then the last one, Mr. Chair, is the grading project we did from Lake Lillian North, 2.4 miles. It's right from the north edge of town, around on 4. It connects up with the one we did a couple of years ago, or 21. And the low bidder was RNG Construction of Marshall, Minnesota. And it's my recommendation to accept that project and authorize final payment in the amount of $29,891.67.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion.
Commissioner Anderson made a motion to approve the final payment and acceptance, and a second by Commissioner Nissen. Any further discussion on that one? You're on a roll today.
Nope, yeah, good.
I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Well, thank you. And information for all those people who may be watching this or live streaming this or on YouTube too. These projects, we've been updated and well aware of these projects where they're at. So I'm really pleased they're coming. I bet you're excited that you got these behind you now.
It feels good to get this in.
Yes, thank you
Yep,
very much.
thank you.
Okay, and next on our agenda, we are going to have a request for a resolution, and I would like to call on Jeff Bertram, please, the Highway 23 Board Coalition Chair. Would you, for the record, would you give your name and?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jeff Bertram,
Jeff.
Acting Chair of the Highway 23 Coalition. Good to be here. Thank you for allowing us to do this. Highway 23 Coalition, of course, you guys have been members since the beginning. Just for those that might not be aware, it's a coalition that we're made up of 15 cities, 12 counties, 9 nonprofits, and more than 60 businesses. And so we've been working for quite some time on creating a 4-lane, safe Highway 23 corridor from border to border. And many of you have been part of that. Commissioner Nissen, Commissioner Imdek, certainly Mel's been a right-hand man to us. So at our last meeting, or board meeting last week, Commissioner Imdek and Mel attended the meeting for some informational purposes. What we've done is we've retained Bolton and Mink to help make funding requests for a variety of different funding options that are out there. The Corridors for Commerce segment of that funding is what we're applying for now. And part of that process is, and it's for the Highway 5523 exchange that certainly Mel and you guys know more about than I do, but as part of that funding request, they require, the state requires resolutions from local units of government to show the support and that they're aware of the project. So tonight, we'll be at the township, Wilmer Township. Next week, I'll be at the city of Wilmer meeting. Today, we're here. So we're getting these resolutions for this particular project. We're getting other resolutions in other areas for other projects. We're going to make multiple funding requests for different projects along the corridor. So this segment of Highway 23 is, what we've identified as crucial towards reaching the coalition's goal of providing a 4-lane alternative. And there's a direct local regional benefit for the project. So at this point, I would ask for approval of the resolution, and then I'd like to just mention 2 other things quick after that.
Oh, great. Commissioner Nissen.
I will move that resolution.
A motion by Commissioner
22-58.
Nissen to move resolution number 2022-58.
And I'll
And
second.
a second by Commissioner Anderson. I just really like to comment, Mr. Bertram, we really appreciate your leadership and this relationship we have, and the Highway 23 Coalition has been really a good thing for Minnesota and for
Well, thank
our
you.
counties.
We try, we're a volunteer group, and so we're doing this. None of us are getting paid to do this, but certainly with your help and everything else. And originally, my membership to the coalition came from Commissioner Imdek. He evidently was mesmerized and thought that I'd be a good member of that. So he's regretted it a couple times, but we've enjoyed doing what we've done doing, so.
We have good working relationships, that's for sure. Commissioner Amdek, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just so that the public who might be just listening to this understands, there is a section of, is it 2 miles?
2.5, I think it is.
From basically US 71 on the south side of Wilmer over to our County Road 55, or the overpass, that was graded for 4 lanes many, many years ago. And that is the section we're talking about.
Correct.
That we would now like to see that the grading be touched up, whatever needs to be touched up, and bitumen is put down to complete that section over to where there will be ramps put in next year, I believe, correct? Yeah.
And I,
Okay, Commissioner Anderson.
so I got a comment about that. I remember when this was being worked on as a kid. Now I'm 57, so I've been waiting for this to be done for probably 40 years, I would guess. So.
You're still a kid.
You're still a kid, yeah.
Yeah, in some ways. Not really. Okay, any other comments or questions from the commissioners? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All in favor of resolution number 2022-58, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and
Thank you.
Commissioners.
Any
One
other
other thing that we
comments?
did at our board meeting last week was we've been asked, and we did weigh in on the New London exchange. And so the Highway 23 Coalition did pass a motion that we support the, what do they call that?
Exchange?
Yeah, the exchange, Roger, what's it called?
Modified.
Modified exchange, I'm sorry, I had a little bit of the modified interchange. So we went on record supporting that. We also passed a motion asking the Kansas County Board to express that support as well. The DOT is right now in the public hearing process. They're asking for support. Certainly the 23 Coalition, you, the people that are directly involved with that, New London, we certainly want them to weigh in because MnDOT, I think, really wants to hear from the public, and you know how this goes. A lot of the individual public members oftentimes kind of hope that organizations like us and yours take that leadership when you know that there's a better option, and we believe that's the best option, and we would ask the county board at some point. It doesn't need to be today, but Mel can talk to you more about that. But just wanted to let you know that we did take that action, asking you specifically to weigh in on that exchange as well.
Well, it sounds like that would be a good agenda item down the road here.
meeting, yep.
And sooner the better, probably.
Yeah.
And the last thing I wanted to share with you, Kansas County is like my second home, having a lake home on Diamond Lake and working for Don Williamson at West Central Sanitation coming up on my 25th year. I spend a lot of time in Kansas County, and it's a beautiful county, and I just want to say how honored I am to spend as much time as I do here. So look forward to working with you guys.
Well, thank you for the kind
Thank
words,
you.
and we're lucky to have you, it sounds. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mel? will you draft that up for the future board meeting then?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, that'd be good. All right, thank you. Okay, and next on the agenda, I'd like to call on Connie Mort, Candioi County Human Resource Director. Good morning, Connie.
Good morning,
Connie.
Chairman, Board. Again, for the record, my name is Connie Mort. I'm the Human Resources Director for Candy, Ojai County. I come before you today with two proposals. This request for proposal had been approved by the board in 2021. It was for a market survey to update our salary structure. As most of you are probably aware, we completed a complete comp worth study and implemented that in 2018. That was from the ground up. All of our job descriptions were reevaluated and reclassified according to the DBM system set forth by Gallagher and Associates. And then they were put on a salary structure that had been updated by current market trends. Now, that was implemented in 2018, so we are looking at, in 2023, having a 5-year update of that. When I came to you in 2021 for a request for proposals, this was our thought process, that we would be trying to implement this in 2023, or looking at having an updated salary structure in hand that we would be able to go to the negotiation table with. As some of you are probably aware, or all of you are aware, we do have 3-year union contracts. We have 6 of them, collective bargaining agreements across the county, and those will be coming up for negotiation in 2023. Or in 2020, yes, in 2023. So having that in hand would be a very good tool for us to be able to negotiate effectively with the unions, both on the AFSCME and LELS side. So that being said, in your packets, there were 2 proposals that were submitted. These were the 2 that had decided to put forth proposals. One is with Gallagher and Associates, and they were the ones that did our comp worth study, and which we implemented in 2018. The others is with David Drowns and Associates, which you're probably very familiar with. We just did our administrative search through David Drowns. They also are they also implement comp worth studies and market surveys as well. Gallagher is familiar with our systems and familiar with our structure being a DDM structure. However, so is David Drowns, because they actually have one of the employees for David Drowns used to be with Gallagher, and he was actually on board when our comp worth study was being done. So he's very familiar with the system and very familiar with our structure. So putting forth these both before you today, I did just have a conversation with both of these companies recently because I wanted to brush up on the information. These were proposals that we received back in 2021. So I wanted to be sure they were still viable in any new information that would come to light. So just sharing a little bit of that with you, since you did have the proposals in front of you. The conversations that I had with Mark Goldberg, which is our David Drowns associate, that was, again, with Gallagher during our last comp worth study. And he talked about the study being a turnaround time. Both of them are looking at around 3 months to complete the study, because you got to be looking at all of the different market data. There's several sources that they go to, comparable counties, surrounding counties, regional centers, all of these things that were done when we did the comp worth study to begin with. We'll go to those same sources, plus David Drowns, which was not our provider the first time that we did the comp worth study, does have private industry data that they are privy to as well. So that would be something else that we would be looking at in addition to our public sector data, if we were to go with them. And we are also looking at doing this. We're looking at David Drowns being around a $10,000 amount. Gallagher, on the other hand, and we're thinking they're looking at about 3 months as well. And they were looking at a little bit later to be doing it, which we think that we really should implement this market survey as soon as possible to get it done and get it finished. And then also, they were looking at any jobs that we would want to have reclassified in the last 5 years, how many had changed. They'd be looking at around $400 per job for that on the Gallagher side. On the DDA side, we're looking at $150 per job for them to be restructured or to be reclassified, or if that reclassification was even necessary. So my thought process is that the availability with DDA, and I did just a very informal survey of surrounding county human resources directors that have been doing market surveys in recent years, and DDA has worked very well for them, as well as Gallagher. However, I think that you know, considering the cost factors between the two of them and the familiarity that the person, the consultant that would be working with us on the David Drown side would be, that would be my request.
Thank you, Connie, and we're definitely familiar with DDA at this point, that's for sure. I did have one question about the timing of all this, and it sounds like it would really be good to get it done too before the budget process for this coming year as well.
Correct.
But then we also are going to have some transitioning in there, so
Correct.
can you comment, or is there what's the best plan?
Yeah, definitely. And I've had some thought process about this as well. And we all know that we have a new administrator that will be coming on board in February. We're looking at having this process being, you know, in process at that time, you know, the salary survey, you know, and I think that, in my opinion, that, you know, we have personnel that have worked on this, you know, worked on the comp worth study. I was on boots on the ground on that as well. We have other people that were on the steering committee with us during the comp worth study. I feel confident that we could go forward with this and actually have a product in hand that would be very helpful for our new administrator. And she would also have that information prior to going into an unfamiliar budget process. You know, I know that she's done budget processes, you know, in her current job, but, you know, I think for me, that would be helpful if we were to have that in hand for her already to work with.
Thank you for I value your feedback. Commissioner Nissen.
I got a couple of comments. As I understand, just paging through this, that the Drown quote is around 10,000.
Correct.
And also the Gallagher one was not to exceed 20,000. So there's quite a difference there, although we don't know if David Drown will be at 10,000 when they're done. It
Right.
kind of depends on what we ask them to do.
That is correct.
The other comment I had is Gallagher did the last comp worth study, correct? But what you're saying is one of the folks that was there at the time is now withdrawn.
Correct. Yes, Mark Goldberg is the consultant that gave me the update for the proposal for David Drowns, and he spent 6.5 years at Gallagher, so he knows. He said that he is familiar with the system. Yes.
And finally, I'm hearing that you're recommending David Drown. Is that?
You know, I am, just because I think that it's a fresh outlook, and even with the familiarity with the DBM method that Gallagher implemented, and Gallagher did a fine job for us, don't get me wrong, but I just feel that David Drown seems to be a little bit more flexible, a little bit more receptive, a little bit more, they seem to have a little bit better turnaround time. And again, Gallagher is a great company to work with, and they've given us a good product as well. Not taking anything away from them, but I just think that, you know, at this time, David Drowns might be a little bit more flexible for us.
Administrator Kleindahl.
Yes, one of the things is that we agreed to in 2018 when we approved the last market study or comp worth study, is that we weren't going to let it go by 40 years like we did the first time. And so what we also know is that we have a lot of positions that we're having trouble filling. Our dollar amounts aren't competitive, and so I don't believe you can hold off too much longer. I think it's important that this is a market study with some comp worth adjustments in it. The main part of this year's study will be for a market study to see where we're at. There will be some positions that Connie's been working with the department heads that may have to be looked at. And that's the $100 per market. And you don't have to do each employee, you can do that department. Okay, so when you're talking about different departments within the county. So when you think about the timing, so if the board approves it today, that gives them a notice of November and December to get ready. You'd want them to do the study in early 2023, that you hope to have it done by April, so you have an opportunity to look at it, to make adjustments to what you need, or come back and ask them more questions. And the timing's important because the budget process starts in May. It seems like a long time away, but for us to put the salary structures in to get to the departments, now the timing may adjust with the new administrator, and that'll be up to you guys. But for the Karen Anderson to put the salaries and the benefits, you'll need to know that number, and you guys will have to have that discussion and agreement. So you need to have time to look at it and to study it. So then, so this way you can have it in place May, June, July, get things worked out in your budget, and then of course with negotiations that come up. So it seems like a long ways away, and you can wait, but it really comes faster than you think. I did have a conversation with Ms. Baker about this before that this is coming up. She's aware of David Jones, and she would have no problem us recommending that.
Oh, okay, thank you. Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Connie, the 10,000 is for market analysis only. I see right below that they gave another option for market analysis with new pay plan design and calibration. And one of the bullet points under that, two of them actually will provide a recommendation and option for either an adjustment or replacement of your current plan. And the second one, we assist with pay options per union negotiations. Are we considering that option at all, or if not, why?
You know, when we first started out with getting the proposals, we were looking for just a market survey. You know, times have you know, we've been through this now 14 months since this proposal was given, and, you know, or we asked for these proposals. This particular proposal is dated in October from David Jones, so it's a year old. In that time, we've seen a lot of change, We've seen, you know, the inflationary spiral. We've seen, you know, the problems with trying to get candidates for positions. Those things have all had, you know, quite an effect on our hiring processes. So at the time of this, we wanted to do the market survey. As Administrator Kleindahl has talked about, we have had a number of departments that have approached us to look at our classification structures. And so I would say, you know, across the county, there's certain positions or certain classifications that need to be looked at individually, and then there's also departments that need to be reevaluated. So it wouldn't just be the market survey at this time, I don't believe. I believe that we would be utilizing some of those other options as well.
So to follow up, if I may, then is that something we should be authorizing today?
I believe so. I would appreciate that. Yes,
with that
thank you.
option or something like that?
Yes.
Okay, if we had a motion, it would be like that. Okay. Ms. Mort, I would think sooner we get this done, the easier job, or not, I won't say easier, but a little bit easier, that trying to recruit people for you would
Yes,
be
it
great.
would be helpful, and I would so greatly appreciate it. I know that we've struggled, you know, with some of the departments in the county, and I don't believe that that's just our county, and, you know, and this isn't going to be a magic bullet for sure.
Right.
You know, I mean, but it is going to be helpful for us, and I also believe it will be helpful down the road in our negotiation process, and, you know, with our upcoming collective bargaining agreements as well.
And a target to shoot at then would be like April would be reasonable, it sounds like, from everybody's point of view?
We would get started right away in 2023. We would start the process,
No, but I mean the
right
final
now.
product.
Final product,
Right,
yes.
yes.
We
Yeah.
should have, the final product should be finished by
Yeah.
April. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments from anyone?
I just want to clarify
Commissioner
the final option here would be to ongoing $10,500 a year, which adds to the cost. And it probably is a good idea, but, and I won't be around to have to worry about the budget side of things, but.
If I could speak to that,
Yeah.
Commissioner Nissen.
Been that already?
The $10,550 would be an annual fee for looking at looking at our classification and our structure each year. We are now in the fourth year since we have implemented our new classification structure in 2018. And yes, we do need to have a look at it. But from year to year, I'm not sure that we would need to have that extensive examination of the entire classification system that would justify that $10,550. That would be me for right now. We could always add that, we could add that option later at another time.
I'm glad that I asked that question
Yes.
because
Yeah,
I
to
appreciate
clarify
that, yes.
Commissioner Emdek?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Certainly, I wouldn't expect a reexamination, as you put it, in the first couple of years. And, given the current circumstances of the job market, perhaps by the third or fourth year, it would be justified. I'm going to go ahead and move this proposal with David Drown and Associates.
A motion by Commissioner Emdek to move, motion to approve David Round for this project. I'm not sure how you're going to phrase the rest of the.
I'll second with
Okay,
a question.
let's clarify what the motion is then. To approve David Round to
For
market survey plus,
plus reclassification or
Reclassify.
examination of departments as we see fit.
okay, and Mary's got that, I think. Yes, okay. Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And then just to clarify, because they gave three options here, is this this is the market analysis with the new pay plan design, calibration, and implementation, the $18,000? Or should we say not to exceed the $18,000 and authorize staff to work with Drown and Associates on specific needs?
I believe that would probably be, not to exceed the 18,000 would be good verbiage to have in that, because what we're looking at doing is, in my mind, what we're doing is we're having that base 10,000, and then we're looking at a recalibration of our market within that 10,000. Anything over that and within that $18,000 would be those individual classifications or the market, if you would, individual market surveys in departments. Certain departments we've noticed may not be as competitive as other counties in the state. And so that would be included within that and would come in underneath that.
Mr. Emdek. And my question is, could that be a friendly amendment?
I was just going to say I would accept not to exceed, is it 18,500 as a friendly amendment?
As would I.
And, okay, all right. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, pass unanimously. Thank you for bringing this forward, and excellent discussion we had on this.
Thank you
and
so much
very
for your
timely, and
consideration.
Appreciate
Thank you,
everybody's
Connie.
input on this. At this point, can we just take a 5-minute recess?
Yes, we can.
All right, 5-minute recess. The Candiac County Board of Commissioners is now back in session. At this point, I had a request from Candiac County Public Works Director, Mel Oden. Would you please come forward and talk to us a little bit more about some new possible grants coming up?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, thank you for this opportunity. As you may recall, we applied for a railroad crossing elimination grant a few weeks ago. And that's the oversight of that grant is by the Federal Rail Authority, FRA. And you also might remember we had the ribbon cutting last Tuesday, and we had dignitaries here, but we also had people here from the rail office and representatives from a cross-section of people. And one of the questions that came up from Burlington Northern, from the public-private partner from down in Fort Worth, said there's this other grant called a Consolidated Rail Infrastructure and Safety Grant. And the grant is open right now, and wanted to know if there's a consideration, because that's also managed by the FRA. So you got the one we applied for, and you got this one. And they said our project would qualify for both, but you only put in for this one. They said, would you consider putting in for this one? And I said, well, I'll have to go to the board. And so I'm at the board.
Right. We're glad you're
And so what I did, and you also may recall that when we were doing the ARPA dollars, we also said we want to be aggressive on getting some IIJ money. And so we said, let's do up to $78,000. And we have not spent it all. So I also refreshed a consultant professional services just to get what would it be to resubmit the RCE grant, change the wording to submit for the Consolidated Rail Safety Grant. And so the one proposal is $12,200. And the reason, that's just literally to refresh it into another grant, okay? Because you got to change wording and get all the letters of support. And there's more to it than just pushing the button. The other part of this one that makes this one more complicated is you need to do a benefit cost analysis. And that alone is quite a bit of work. And so I got a proposal from them. If they included the benefit cost option, then it ups the price to $29,600. So in talking to the Burlington Northern representatives, they would be willing to work with us on providing some benefit cost work because they're the ones that are pushing it for us, because it's a safety thing for them. And so with your permission, we would apply for this other grant, and we would use previously approved ARPA dollars to fund the professional services as needed. And I would say probably up to $30,000 just because then we'd be safe.
Commissioner Emdek.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I think this makes good sense. I know that you're not really excited about federalizing programs because of the extra work and the extra cost, but I think we've reached the three-strike rule on request for bonding for this project. And so I think this is just a prudent thing, a prudent approach to apply for both of these grants. And I would move to go forward with the application and to approve the expenditures for the consulting.
A motion by Commissioner Emdek
I'll second.
and a second by Commissioner Nissen. Any further discussion?
And I would just like to say that I wonder where you can get a job where you get to name these projects so that they come up with these cute little acronyms like
the
Chrissy.
Chrissy?
It's the Chrissy grant.
Which, for the record, is, I'll read it. It's a Consolidated Rail Infrastructure and Safety Improvement Grant.
Okay.
And the purpose of the grant is it improves rail safety, efficiency, and reliability. And that's what they want this Y to be known as. It's operational efficiency for their system here, but it also connects to our industrial park, which makes it good for us economically. And so it eliminates these choke points and eliminates the possibility of accidents. And so they're all good programs. It just,
I do have a question though, Mr. Chair, and I suspect you might not be able to answer this question. So we've asked for letters of support from our congressional delegation in Washington DC and others, at state level and businesses. Will there be hesitation for them to send a letter of support on a second grant that covers the same project, or?
my preliminary feeler on that is no, because I think, and likewise with the businesses that where we got them from, I think now, we went through the boot camp of getting the wording a little better. I think what I literally would do is just take those letters, edit, even by hand, and send them to their government affairs office. And I think I didn't want to go that next step until I had your blessing on this. But,
It just crossed my mind that, it's like,
and it's due December 1, so we have 30 days. So, we might need to do a pre-approval of the grant in 2 weeks, just saying. It's going to be pretty quick.
We
So,
understand. You have a comment, Commissioner Nissen?
No.
Okay. Mr. Odens, thank you for bringing this forward, and I'm just really so proud of our county and how we all work together, as everybody else says too, that you're willing to take on this extra work, and this is really good stuff happening here, and it's good for the taxpayers that we get the most for our levy dollars and minimize those as much looking at other resources. So thank you very much for this. Any further questions or comments? Otherwise, we have a motion and a second, and I will call for the vote then. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously.
Thanks, Mel, for doing this.
Very good. And now, we'll talk about administrative updates.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Update I want to give you is something that's been going on for 18 months. I think I've presented or gave you information in the last 18 months, maybe even before. Each year, we do a reconciliation with the state of Minnesota regarding what was known as, used to be the old Midwest buildings and our 16-bed. So each year, when we took over the Midwest campus in 2006, when the state of Minnesota, Midwest Technology Campus, and the county all agreed to come together, and what happened is that the state of Minnesota basically would put the land and the titles into Kansas County, and then we could rent it back to the state of Minnesota. And as the state of Minnesota didn't need the buildings, then they could sell them off to Midwest Campus. In the meantime, we also built a 16-bed mental health, behavioral health hospital over by Annalena, over by the Wilmer Y. Each year, we go through what's called a reconciliation, and you've seen me before, at least once a year since 2006, talking about, we can't make money, or we're not supposed to lose money. It's supposed to be cost neutral. And so when there's adjustments on those leases, the Department of Admin, Department of Health and Human Services, and Kansas County all go through those leases, and we sign off, and we adjust the rent or the payments in those leases. Well, in about 2014, it was discovered that some of the replacement reserves that we have weren't following the right category, if you remember those, in where they're going. And so, and then as the campus was shrinking, the adjustment on the square footage didn't adjust. And so we're being charged higher. But none of the three parties caught it. As the department admin would set, they dropped the contracts. They send it to us. They go through it. We send them what the cost accounting is. They redline it and send it back to us. We bring it to board. We approve it. Well, we're going through this process for the last 18 months, and we're still questioning whether or not the numbers and the square footage is right. And we're struggling to come up with an agreement on that. And it's what has happened is a lot of the people that we were working with at the Department of Admin, Department of Health, or Human Services, and in Kennewick County has either passed away or retired at all three entities. And so you're trying to find out emails, and most of the emails, they're gone. And so what they have, for their records, they can't find records. Our records, so I just want to give you an update. This, I'll be bringing this back to the board, but this is something that's taken a lot of time. I would imagine our staff downtown has probably put in over 200 some hours in looking at and trying to work with this, and then calling back and forth. And we think we got an agreement in place, then we have a new person there. I want to say it's kind of like when we first started working with the Y, you'd have an agreement almost in place, and they'd change the players, and you have to start over. And so I want to give you that as an update. It's gone, an ongoing process. My goal is to try to push this through and have it done and before I leave, because again, it's another person that has knowledge that's leaving, and eventually there's going to be no one that's going to know what's taking place. But I want to give you that, so that heads up and keep you updated that it hasn't gone away. We're still working on it. I thought we had an agreement to split the difference last week, and now they have a new person, and that new person wants to start over and look at all the stuff.
Well, appreciate this update, plus your concerns about the transition. That's really very much appreciated. Commissioner Endek, you had a comment or question?
Yeah, sorry to sort of break your rhythm on your report, Larry. You brought up a point that has crossed my mind several times, is historically, we've had some things that have happened. We've had resolutions that were passed in the 1980s that we're still operating under today. And if we want, do we have an efficient system for which to, library, if you will, for which to research those resolutions and those agreements so that when we do have change of personnel, there's a way to find these articles that are binding us by law, and people's memories fade and people move on. So I think it's kind of important to do.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I would just respond to that, is that from a legal standpoint, what we have is our board minutes, okay? And so we can go back to the board minutes, but as you know, if you use the 1980s, the board minutes is a legal process and proceeding what you voted on. It doesn't always give all the detail, and what you need sometimes on these things, I think we're talking about, there's some other things that come up when they come, you need the detail. What gives the authority, who signed it? And my argument is, to the state, is that all three parties each year agreed to it. And that means that year was closed out. And to try to go back 20 years and remember what the heck took place, or 18 years, it's ungodly to do. And so my argument is that each year when all three parties agree, let's sign the agreement, yep, we agree, let's move forward. And then let's find a solution going forward and start to rectify things that you can't. And I think that's what you're bringing up. And so
Well, some years,
your doctor,
some issues, you don't even know what year it happened. So you could look from 1980 to 1991 and have to go through all those minutes to try to find the issue you're looking for.
right, and I think you and I were talking about another issue during the break, and there's not always emails or other things, and so you basically have to go back to the founding stuff and get, it all comes down to legal interpretation.
Maybe we could find out through your organization or through AMC, how other counties might be doing this sort of archiving of documents that are easy to retrieve when we need to retrieve them. I suppose some of them are in paper documents that would have to be scanned and filed
Printed, yep.
electronically.
Yeah, there should be contracts attached to some of that from the
So-
state.
So, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to give you an update
Sure,
about that.
thank
So I think if you go back to the board minutes, I think the first one was about 18 months ago, and I thought it was done, and then we had another person, and that person thought we had an agreement, and now she went to a different department. And so, like I said, by the time we get close, they keep changing the players.
I understand this has been quite a struggle for you. I'm aware of it. Yes, thank you.
Mr. Chair, then,
Please proceed.
regarding updates or appointments, I think an opportunity for a possible appointment for planning and zoning, and that you can talk about it at the next year reappointment. But that gave me a thing to remind you. The new reorganizational meeting, committees and stuff will be coming up on the first meeting in January. So as you look through your committees, please mark down the dates and times that they meet, and look at committees that you might be interested in changing, and Karen will be sending out a notice probably right after election, and so look at those committees. But as we have openings and stuff, take a look at that. Also, if there's openings where you know there's an opening coming up that you have to appoint a citizen, to start recruiting those citizens. And so I'm going to turn it over to you.
Oh, okay, thank you. I just want to announce to the board that I feel I have a really good candidate for the member at large that we need for the planning and zoning committee. So just be aware of that, but we're going to appoint those that come in the first. It would be a really good candidate, I believe. But we also have other ones for planning and zoning, correct? There's another vacancy?
I think there will be a vacancy that will be someone from my district.
Okay.
So I have some people in mind. I've talked to a few people, but
Yeah,
I agree with Minister DeKlindel that, let's not be thinking about that on the week between Christmas and January. Let's be thinking about it now. And you maybe heard me say this before, and forgive me, Lord, for being a little distracted in church, but I sing in the choir and I'm able to look out at the audience and everyone's like, oh, there's somebody who might be.
Okay.
But, because as you, if you have a, last meeting, you were talking about planning and zoning, you had a member at large, and it gets, all the commissioners start thinking, hey, here, I have somebody, and so, instead of all four of you can continue to look, and if somebody also knows that, if you're aware that there might be somebody who's interested, just be aware of that.
Yep. Okay. And then when Karen gives us the update then after the election, I bet she'll have all those other committees that we may, when people are.
Correct.
And we'll get some feedback.
You
then.
will, they'll be redlined, and you'll see Raleigh's and my name crossed off, or, I'll go a couple months, but they'll be crossed off, and all those committees will be open. And you have to, you as a group at that meeting, that's what you do, is decide.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any other appointments or calendar information from the commissioners this time?
I just
Commissioner
have,
Anderson.
there's one appointment, I think it's a panel, kind of a review panel for Board of Review for, like property assessments. Ryan Erickson, I think he was appointed to something. I've been talking with Eric Van Dyke, and I can't think of the name of the position but
Not Board of
but we're working.
Board of Adjustment?
Maybe it might be Board of Adjustment. I think they only meet like once or so a year.
Yes.
It isn't very often because of the passing of Ryan Erickson.
And is that a
There's one
member at
position
large
that I'm
then?
working on. I'm not sure. I think
We'll find
Eric
out.
has been saying that I got to find somebody. So
okay.
I got a
We'll keep that in
person in mind. He's
Oh.
very busy though. He's got a lot of irons in the fire all the time. But
They don't bring very often.
There's one that So he might hopefully accept. I got to still chat with him a little more about it. So
Please proceed that, okay.
yeah. Oh, with the rest of my stuff or?
No,
or-
just.
That's only one. I'm not finalized on it yet, but
Okay,
I think I
good,
got a little time yet
Sure,
with that.
you
so.
do.
okay. Well, let's start commissioners' updates, and Commissioner Gardner, would you start?
I will, thank you, Mr. Chair. It was suggested to me a couple of weeks ago that ever since we did away with per diems and went to all salary, that we may have been shirking our duty a little bit and not taking on attending all of our meetings. So this is kind of a primer as to what, at least from my standpoint, we're actually doing. On the 18th, I attended the Convention and Visitors Bureau monthly meeting, followed by an intergovernmental meeting. That's the county representatives along with Wilmer Public Schools and the city of Wilmer. On the 19th, I attended the Candiac County HRA Board meeting. The 20th, Humane Society Executive Committee meeting over lunch, followed by, as all of us know, the West Central Mental Health Housing Board quarterly meeting. The 21st was actually not a meeting, but I attended the Chamber Connection over at UCAP, which is something that I thought was an important thing to take in. And we were out at the daycare again and being able to see that facility. Attended the Steve Simon listening tour on the 24th. The 25th, as all of us attended, was the Wilmer Y. ribbon cutting. The 26th was, I chaired the Candy High County Drug-Free Coalition meeting. And I also attended the drug court graduation that afternoon over at the courthouse. And I would encourage my peers to, if they ever get a chance, to take that in. It's quite a nice little event especially for the graduates. They do a lot of work to get through that program. 27th was the EDC Joint Powers Board meeting, and the 28th, of course, we were at the AMC district meetings. So that's what I attended, and coming up, I have at least 10 more items, and during the break, I signed up for an 11th, which is the NACO Broadband Boot Camp. But I do have to confess that I missed one meeting. I missed the Humane Society Board meeting because of a work commitment. So I suspect that I'm somewhere around 95, 98%. And frankly, I'm like the rest of you, I'm adding stuff like this all the time. So while I can see where people might say, you're not doing your job, it's not an informed opinion. And that's all I have.
Ready for me?
Commissioner Newsom, please proceed.
All right. Well, I'm not going to be that detailed, but we've been busy too. First meeting after the last county board meeting was a compliance committee meeting at Prime West, where they review how the various vendors have been either cooperating with the rules or not. And occasionally they have to investigate some things, and that's what these committees are all about. Let's see, the budget committee was at church. So then the West Central Mental Health Housing Board met, and pretty routine. They've got a waiting list. They're having somebody move into the one vacancy, probably already has. And then Friday we had a meeting canceled because of the AMC round robin thing. Apparently we couldn't meet on the date we had scheduled because of someone, not ours, but some other district had a meeting, so we had to cancel that. CPT, they met a week ago Monday, no, 2 weeks ago Monday, and we are going to buy the building that we're renting currently. We talked about payouts to the counties, and there was kind of a discussion leaning against doing a payout this year, but we'll talk about that again coming up. We're hiring a couple of new folks over there, and we reviewed the work, what's the word I'm searching for? The duties of the various people. And then we all were on the train with the Wilmer Y. I did miss a meeting because of a conflict with that. The Mid-Minnesota Regional Transportation Coordinating Committee met at exactly the same time we were having the ribbon cutting, so I had to make a decision one way or the other. EDC Joint Powers Board, I was at that, and basically pretty routine there. Again, I'm also was at the AMC Regional Fall Meeting. And then on this last Monday, we had Larry and I and Corky and Jennifer met on a Zoom meeting with the UCare group, and then I had to go drive bus, so the three of them met with the Blue Cross Blue Shield. So, Corky, I'll save something for you. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Nissen. Commissioner Anderson?
Okay. Yeah, so after our last county board meeting, I was asked to go to St. John's Township board meeting to talk to them about options regarding County Road 7 and Highway 40, and also County Road 1 and Highway 40 with the accidents and deaths that happened there this last summer. So I was trying to, they want something done now. And, I told them that's not how we work. We have to work with other groups such as MnDOT. And so I told them we will try to get something done. I said, I don't know what we can do because we have to talk with the state and different things. I did talk with Larry and Mel Odens about options, and Mel said he's working on it. And so hopefully something can be done. Maybe do some rumble strips or something. Sometimes you think of the right response or right answer, afterwards. Well, today was the right answer was, to give an example how slow government can move is that Highway 23 project that we just talked about today with that resolution in support of finishing that 2.5-mile strip, where I was just literally a little boy when they first started on that project, and it's still not done. So 40 years later. So if they're listening, government does move slow sometimes, but we do hear you, and we are trying to get something done. I did tell them if it was between a county road and a township road, or county road and another county road involved with these accidents, something probably would have been done at this time to alert drivers, of a coming intersection. So that was that meeting. On the 25th, we did the Wilmer Y, where it was ribbon cutting and the train ride, but everybody else was on board with that. And I had an AIS task force meeting that was scheduled for October 26th, but that was canceled. I think just too nice of a fall and nobody wanted to go. So on the 27th, there was a UCAP meeting that I attended in Redwood Falls. And they gave kind of a preliminary review of our audit and how we board members were interviewed, and what they heard back from the federal government was really that it was really good. In fact, they said that the auditors, they were very impressed by a couple situations that they're doing with like their Head Start program and other programs involving with UCAP, that they were going to share that with others in other states. So hopefully that the review does come back very good, but they said that was very encouraging when they were very impressed with a few of the projects. Let's see, another thing that they did at that meeting was financial training, and so which is great. The individual that does this is Randy Suter, I think is his name. He's very detailed accountant type person, bookkeeping. I don't know if he actually is an accountant, but he should be. If he isn't, he's very good and very detailed. And like they said, when it comes to spending money, it's as if it's his own money. So he's very tight with the dollars and make sure that they're spent well. And so we did that financial training, and then they also informed us that they will be ordering up some new buses. They not sure how many exactly just at this point, but that's going to be coming up at another meeting with UCAP. And then on the 28th, I was supposed to have a South Fork Crow River One Watershed One plan, but because of fall harvest and nice weather again, they canceled that. And then on the 28th, I also attended the AMC District 6 meeting, and everybody else was there, I guess. So,
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Anderson. Commissioner Evdiak?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm going to start off with another one of those acronyms, and Mel doesn't get to play this game, but I will buy a beer at Goat Rig for anybody who can tell me what the IOH work group is. Has to do with transportation. Mel maybe doesn't even know. It's called the Implements of Husbandry. And it's become kind of a big issue. We had a working group meeting. It's kind of a big issue for county engineers who are responsible for building and maintaining our roads. And these largely grain carts and manure transportation systems are the ones that are exceeding the axle weights by huge amounts. And so it's a concern on both sides, actually. They want to be as efficient as they can with the size of their equipment. And of course, the people responsible for maintaining the roads want to make sure the roads stay maintained. So it's a working group that at some point will probably have a resolution at the legislature. That was on 10/19. On 10/20, Raleigh and Mel and I met with a representative from Congresswoman Fishbach's office. We thought what we had is a very productive meeting regarding financing opportunities for, primarily we talked about transportation and safety, but there's other opportunities. And I thought was a very productive conversation. Thanks, Raleigh, for setting that up. Later that day, I was with most of you at the West Central Mental Health Housing meeting. On the 24th, you had a Glacier Lake Sanitary Sewer and Water District meeting. And besides the regular business that we usually take care of, we had a presentation about the opportunities to expand the district, which takes a lot of money, but the more people we have on the system, the lower cost per unit we have. And so there's conversations going on about where those opportunities are at. Later on, we met with the Secretary, or earlier, I guess, had met with the Secretary of State. On the 25th, like all of you, I was on the Wilmer Y ribbon cutting. On the 28th, it was the district meeting, and I want to thank you guys for all being there. Kennewick County's had a really good history of attending those meetings, and so I appreciate that. We also have a good history of attending the AMC annual meeting, which is coming up in December. So if your registration isn't already in, be thinking about that. And on the 31st, just yesterday, we had a meeting with MnDOT and the City of New London regarding conversation about not discovering, but how we're going to communicate the funding sources for whenever a road project, or in the case of Highway 23, Highway 9 intersection improvements are made, and which, plays a role in what we can do. So we had that meeting yesterday. We'll be having another one soon. And then Thursday, are we all invited? I think
Yes.
so, to the Prime West meeting
Yeah.
in Alexandria.
Mhm.
So,
And-
Or online.
or online, yeah.
Yeah, and according to the agenda, that's like, what, half an hour or something. They have a very long agenda. I think it starts at, 11:30 and goes until 3:15.
11:30 is lunch, so just in case they feed you pretty good. But, yeah, from 12, sometimes it gets a little elongated when you're talking about, the compliance part, they go on and on about it. If all they give you a handout would probably suffice. But, yeah, it goes till 2:30 usually.
Okay.
But, yeah, this part is not going to take that long. So, anyway.
That's it.
Anything else? That's it? Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, by the way, for those people who think that we aren't doing this, so yesterday morning, I'm in the doctor's office and I'm conducting business while I'm in the doctor's office waiting for a biopsy to come back. So we're on duty really 24 hours a day. So, and I am sure for the average person in the public, they don't always appreciate the phone calls we're getting and the hours, because in addition to our meetings, there's constituent work that we do.
Yeah.
Answering emails, answering phone calls, or making personal visits when somebody asks you to come and take a look at something.
Well, I'd just like to comment, we have really a fantastic board, and I think we all know, everybody holds their own that very well, no doubt about that. So, and Mr. Kleindahl's comment that doing away with per diems, I think is working out really well. So that was a real plus, I think. So along that same line, I'll just give my updates. But first off, I want to thank Commissioner Emdek. He's the chair of District 6 county group, and he's done an excellent job. And we all were at that meeting. We had an excellent meeting. You know, so a couple of people were probably a little long-winded, but maybe next time they'll be better.
We got done faster than any of their meetings. We were ahead of schedule.
Oh, okay, so my going on and on, I wasn't too out of place then. All right, thank you. Okay.
I never let an opportunity pass, though, just so you know.
Yeah, right, okay. We often overlap on a lot of our committee meetings, and, which is good, and because we can fill in for each other, or they need two people there as well. But thinking of our reorganization again on the first, everybody, you know, I'm not sure how we can eliminate some of these meetings neither, some of these committees. I think we've looked at it every time, but I guess we have to look at that one more time, because we have such commitments, and every year it gets to be more committees to go to. And they're all important, so it's pretty hard to eliminate that, but we have to look at that. I attended the interagency government meeting. That's with the schools in the city of Willmar, and we had some really good discussion, and it's interesting to hear some of the issues that the other organizations are having, and how we have so much in similar with them, as well as, for example, staff issues and things like that. We had the EDC board meeting, and that was a big board meeting, covered a lot of information, but you know, a lot of these committees we attend, and you know, there could be 2 weeks ago, and the stuff is not probably that important to always report on, to bubble up to the level at the board that everybody would want to know all those details. But we had a good meeting there, but I have nothing more to report than Commissioner Nissen had as well. Had the Prairie Lakes Youth Program meeting, and we meet monthly, and those meetings really go on for quite a long time, each time we have them. We got so much on our agenda there. They're doing well. You know, they do need space. We're still talking about, and we'll be meeting with Representative Baker too, concerning any bonding for the future, and we're going to deal with that, because we do need to respond to the needs out there, not only for Candido County, but we serve the whole state. And budget-wise, we're at a position that we're not making big bucks, but we're headed above water, and we're able to spend more time looking at what the real mission is instead of worrying about the bottom line of the dollar. And so we're really trying to focus on programming and what's going to serve the youth that needs those kind of services. Woodlands Housing meeting, we had that, and that was a good meeting. And that's an interesting thing we talked about would be need for housing, because we have such a need for housing in our community. Does that meet do we need to expand that or meet the needs? And I kind of sensed from that meeting that we were meeting the need for that group of individuals that utilizes those services quite well, and it's a very successful program, and it's been around for a long time. I've had several meetings with Mr. Kleindahl and concerning personnel issues and changes and transition. We had the District 6 meeting. Blue Cross Blue Shield had a meeting yesterday afternoon with them, and it was an in-person meeting, and that was a very good meeting, looking at the procurement and how that would impact us as well as Prime West. So it was a very good meeting, and Blue Cross Blue Shield currently has a large number of the PMAP clients. I think it's around a little over 7,000 people, and they expect that they're going to probably still keep those people because people often don't change their health care plan. So we'll see how this all balances out. And Commissioner Nissen and I and Administrator Kleindahl and Jenny Lippert is going to be meeting with Jim from Prime West this afternoon at 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. So, and that's going to be on Zoom. And then we got the board meeting on Thursday. Okay. And the why, I guess everybody's reported on the why. We know about the why, but that is good to talk about. That was quite a success for the county, but for the city, for the railroads, for the community, for the taxpayers, for our region. That's very important. For industry and business, it's a success. And there was also a meeting with the Secretary of State, and I attended that. And that was very interesting, and I never met the individual before, and we just talked about the needs from that position, and it was not a political statement. At this point, I don't have anything more. Does any?
Just wanted to talk briefly, fill in a little on the EDC. We did have the audit, but because of a lack of, not a lack of miscommunication, the presenter for the auditor was not there, but the audit was, and it was a clean audit. So I thought I should bring that up.
I think he had a funeral or something, didn't you say?
I don't
something
even
there.
remember the reason, but, so that was, we approved that. And I was going to talk about, the train ride. We had a couple on board that are one of the folks that are looking at putting a very large agriculture operation in the industrial park. They were on the train ride with us, and we went by where the spur might go into there. So that was excellent too. And they're not the only ones looking because of the why. So anyway,
All these
I
connections.
thought
are
I'd
so
fill in a
important.
couple of blanks there.
Administrator Kleindl, do you have?
So, Raleigh, Brett made me remember something, so thank you. So yesterday, Commissioner Berg asked me about the state audit. Usually we have, I bring the state audit report to the board, usually around August, September. Well, they're behind because they don't have enough staff to finish our audit. And so they had to give a notice to the federal government that it's their it's their fault that they haven't completed our audit yet. And so, just so you know, it's not our auditor treasurer's office holding it up. It's coming from the state. We'll get it to you as soon as possible. I'm interested in closing that out and having an exit interview as well. But I take that for granted that everybody knows that stuff. And I forgot, you probably are wondering where our 2021 audit is at. And they're still hanging on to it.
Yeah, the good news is the
Pretty
state
much
actually-
lost about 4 nights of sleep.
I bet you did.
And the good news, the state stepped up and took the blame for it anyway, but still, we don't have the results of it. But
Right.
I expect it's going to be very positive, as it's always been in the past. Anything else from the commissioners? A very good meeting, good discussion, and then I hereby adjourn the Candido County Board of Commissioners.